Moved and seconded, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes, thank you. Our next agenda item are public comments. I just have the one card. We'd love to hear from Katie Starr.
I timed this so it should be less than 5 minutes. Good evening, Mr. President, Governing Board, and Cabinet. My name is Katie Starr, and I'm currently the teacher on assignment at the new Creighton Early Learning Center at Papago West, and I have just begun my 15th year in the district. I generally do not have the personality type to embrace public speaking, but I felt compelled to take a few moments to give accolades to the amazing efforts of so many. For many years, the subject of kindergarten readiness has been a topic of conversation, whether it was on my site's continuous improvement team, district strategic planning team, parent meetings, or as a recent kindergarten teacher. It was a big, audacious goal that seemed far off due to the high cost. Through the efforts of Dana Morrison, our Special Services Director, and Marisol Schweitzer, our Community Education Director, they, along with others, developed and drafted the vision of creating an early learning center and applying for the preschool development grant. I want to say thank you to them. Their vision serves 100 at-risk 4-year-olds and their families, free of charge, with a high-quality pre-K program being taught by fully certificated elementary school teachers specializing in early childhood education. Enrollment took off, and we needed to generate a waiting list, which means it is a program our families want and our community needs. Thank you, Governing Board, for embracing this opportunity and approving the preschool development grant and always putting our families first. Approval happened on April 28th, and we needed to be ready for DHS inspection on August 11th and welcome new students August 13th. As Papago West is a bit of a senior citizen, so many played a part in our successful openings. Thank you, Pam Burkhart, for the support to manage this grant efficiently. It is a big undertaking, and the guidance is needed for a successful program and implementation. Thank you, Susan Lugo, and your department for our highly qualified teachers and all that it entails to make sure they were ready to teach for our program. A truly big thank you to Roy Sukanik at Physical Plant Services and his team for painting, scraping, replacing, moving, repairing, cleaning, and for his constant monitoring and support so the Papago West campus was ready for licensing inspection. Thank you to Linda Doherty and Robert Dockstader at Food Services and their team for providing breakfast and lunch for our students and our own cafeteria. Thank you to Judy Lewis, our district nurse, to make sure we had the supplies and the training needed to meet the health needs of our students. Thank you to Zach Doyle, our warehouse manager, for the support in locating some of the furniture we needed for our office, staff development room, and parent resource room, and quickly removing unneeded items. Thank you, Ed Stoltz and your team, for making sure our program was sufficiently set up with technology for instruction and day-to-day operation, printing, copying, and telephoning. And there are probably many more whose hands touch the Creighton Early Learning Center. It was through the efforts of many that supported our successful opening, and your dedication to this community humbles me. So I cordially invite all who are here right now to take some time to visit Creighton Early Learning Center at Papago West and to know that it is your early learning center, and without your efforts, we may still have kindergarten readiness on our wish list. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. I do enjoy starting meetings on a positive note. With that, we'll turn it over to the superintendent for her report.
Well, I appreciate Katie coming. That was actually my first, everything she said, ditto, 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 ditto. The incredible teamwork that it took. And, you know, when you get a grant so late in the year like that, and when we were concerned about our ability to sustain it financially, this board had the courage to go ahead and move forward, and the team pulled together, even amongst the midst of Monte Vista being opened, we had amazing facility support when people spread really thin. So our congratulations to everybody that Katie just listed, and Katie herself as a visionary and a leader. So thank you for that, Katie. The second thing that I just wanted to remind everybody is we're getting ready to celebrate the opening of Monte Vista. So maybe in the board reports, one of you guys like to talk a little bit about our guest list. And Monte Vista had a little drama. It was a little stinky over there. The core construction company deserves a huge applause because there was a boo-boo with the sewage on the north side. And this is kindergarten talk because it affected the kindergarten wing. And so the building didn't smell so great in the administrative wing or in the kindergarten wing. But our entire team was amazing. It was cleaned up pronto to include carpet replacement, wall replacement, paint in about 12 hours time. Isn't that about right, Mike?
Other than they did dry out the place before they could put that new carpet stuff.
That was a good
So
move
it took
to
a
do that
couple
first.
days. But basically, a hazmat team came in and cleaned it out. Yes.
Our kindergarten team said, well, we're used to working with kindergartners, so we're good. You know, so it was just adorable how everybody pulled together. The opening of school was, in my, 30 years plus in the business, one of the most flawless openings. No lost kids, a few where we were a little concerned and scratching our heads and found them in rooms where they were not quite supposed to be, but they were all accounted for. Transportation team deserves a huge amount of credit. I rode the bus the first day and just listened to the dispatch and accounting kid by kid, bus by bus, corner by corner, minute by minute was just exquisite. It was so impressive how the transportation team worked. We had district office staff deployed to all the schools to help with that kind of crazy first lobby experience where suddenly people go, oh, it's school, and they come to register that first day. So hundreds of kids registered. As we follow enrollment, which is our real key focus right now, we staff teachers on the projection of the 100th day. And the 100-day projection for this district was at 6551. And we were down 600 kids our first day of school. We were nervous, as you can imagine. So we were watching very closely what happened after that. I can tell you now we're from projection down 400, approximately 400 students. And we keep climbing and keep scrubbing the data so that the enrollment and the actual whites of their eyes is the same number. So by the 10th day, we'll know the real number. But I would like you to know we are 63 kids above last year at this time. So even with what appears to be the shortage from projection, day to day, date to date, we're 63 kids up. So enrollment is climbing. We just projected with some growth in mind. So we're going to make sure staffing is equalized and smoothed out based on where the real bodies are as far as where the kids showed up. But we're seeing a few schools where we're a little curious on what's going on, and Monte Vista is already over 50 projected. But that was probably because we lost some during the construction, and now they're coming back. So that's good. And that's my report.
Thank you, Dr. Lewis. Governing board members? Amy?
Jeannie, do you want to go first since you've been dealing with the guest list? Okay. That's the latest one.
Well, and if you jump in on the guest list, because I think I might forget some people. So Amy has been working on the committee to pull together the grand opening for Monte Vista, and I ran around town and was able to drop off a lot of really cute, personalized invitations for dignitaries, you know. And so I know we went to the community board meeting as well, and we invited everybody there. I don't think I have a solid count yet from Phoenix Union, and I don't know if Hilda maybe does, but we know that Mayor Stanton's coming. We know that Ken Clark is going to maybe send somebody. Katie Hobbs is going to try to be there. Lila Alston will be there. A few of the governing board members, I believe Stanford said that he would be able to make it there, of course, and Stephanie Parra and Ian Danley. So there's going to be quite a few people there, and it's going to be a really good event. I'm excited about it. Dr. Lewis and I also went to the State Board of Education meeting when they talked about the cut scores. Is there anything else you guys want to fill in about
We can have a discussion, so we'll take our turn.
Okay.
I'll just add that we know Kate Brophy McGee and Eric Meyer
That's right.
for me, and
Drake.
Representative Golding, yes, and Adam Drake, yes.
That's great. Because his wife, Adam Drake's wife went to Monte Vista, so
Great.
they'll be there.
Yeah, so it's gonna be a great turnout as far as that goes, yeah.
So yeah, we went to the State Board of Education meeting, and there were a lot of really impassioned speakers who went up to the podium and spoke about the need to really accept these scores and learn from them and grow from them. So that was a good meeting, and there was a lot of talk too about how maybe this will maybe expose, what happens at the Capitol and how it can affect our kids, and maybe people will, there's a lot of hope in it, so maybe people will actually start adequately funding education, so we can really do what we need to within the school districts to pick up these scores. So yeah, we had a busy week, and I think that's about it, and I'll be there tomorrow for the convocation, which is called Rally, and then we have the grand opening at Monte Vista on Thursday. So exciting time.
And I was just gonna add one other thing, I don't know who all listens to This American Life, but there've been a couple of really fascinating stories, a part 1 and a part 2 called The Problem We All Live With, and it's about segregation, desegregation, and basically the fact that we are becoming more desegregated since the late 80s, and that's what they think. Segregated, segregated, sorry. After trying to force people to desegregate, which wasn't successful forcing people. And so they believe that that's the key to fixing education. And it's a fascinating couple stories. It's like 2 hours, and I'll email that to the board. One of the stories is about the district that Michael Brown went to in Ferguson. It's so much more challenging there than what we face, but it's still really hard to do, but it's super inspiring. So I will send it to Hilda if anybody in the audience wants links to it, but it's the last to This American Life, 561, 562, I think.
Thank you. Okay. Anything to add? Okay. I did want to share a couple additional things about the Monte Vista grand opening. I know I was thinking about this. I was on the board in 2009 when we put it up for election, and it wasn't an easy yes, we have to do this. We all felt compelled to do it, but we were also, the board was definitely grappling with the economy is taking a turn. A lot of people are losing their jobs. Our budgets were slashed. Our friends were being laid off. And after deliberation, we decided to put it to a ballot anyway. We knew we had to try to get some money for our facilities. We were cautiously, we're optimistic, but not really. It was a scary time. And I know we didn't pass our override that year, but we did pass the bond. And then, of course, as a community member both on the board and off, I've heard from critics about should we have gone out for the bond or not, because there was a time when we couldn't cash in the bond and rebuild a school. But interestingly enough, now that the school's built, some of those same critics they're very positive, and I think part of this has been our proactive outreach, that we are having the grand opening, we are inviting people to come see their money at work, we're making it a big deal. And obviously, it is a big deal. People pay taxes for these, and it means a lot to our community. So I just wanted to, give gratitude to the former board for having the courage to do it, to our community for giving themselves a tax increase for obviously very important purpose, and then to us and everyone who's working to execute this. To actually show the community this is your school, this is our community. We appreciate it. Thank you. And I'm looking forward to really big things. No pressure, Mr. Benson. Additionally, I've been having a number of conversations with families I know that are choosing our schools over their neighborhood schools. So we have a number of Madison families that have chosen to send their children to Biltmore. And you know, some things that I'm sure we've all heard. It's hard to get to school at 7:30. There are a lot of cars in line. What's this breakfast in the classroom thing? And then some interesting conversations about the podcast that Amy was talking about and what this means for people coming to our schools, and then also what that means for us. But amidst what is not that there was chaos or anything negative, but in the midst of all of this, Dr. Lauren was on TV promoting our program and promoting our school, and that just immediately made some families really proud in their first week with their children in school for the first time in our school. So thanks for jumping on right away, Dr. Lauren. I know that not just means a lot to us, but it means a lot to the families that choose our schools. Thank you. Of course. No other reports. We'll move on to our consent agenda.
I move the governing board approve consent agenda A through C in accordance with policy BEP-I.
Great. It's been moved and seconded. Any conversation, discussion on consent? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Great, motion passes. Personnel, approval of Chief of Business Operations and Development. Dr. Lewis?
Members of the board, I'm pleased to tell you that from around the state, we've had 17 excellent candidates apply for the Chief of Business Operations and Development position. And through a very scrutinous screening, 5 were selected to be interviewed by a panel of stakeholders, to include a community member and someone knowledgeable about the area of the school facilities, to include members of each of the respective departments that would be reporting to this person, as well as a principal leader. The panel was facilitated by Dr. Lugo, and questions, very difficult questions around very technical issues were asked. And there was a unanimous feeling across the stakeholders that there was a single first choice, and I would have really suspected, 2 or 3, because they were that good. And I'm pleased to present to you tonight a gentleman who has been the Director of Instructional Technology in 3 districts, Cave Creek, Paradise Valley, and Madison, who is on the cabinet now in Madison as Director of Communications and Marketing, who has a tremendous understanding of legislative and statewide affairs, so has struggled with the E-rate issue like most of us have, and is probably one of the most collaborative, participatory leaders you'll ever see, and I think an excellent member of the team, and I present to you tonight for your approval, Mr. J. Mann, for the position of Chief of Business Operations and Development, hopefully effective August 31st.
Thank you, Dr. Lewis. Any discussion, questions, comments?
I take it he's here. Can you stand up, please?
And if we accept, if we approve this, Dr. Lewis, will be sitting next to him?
I believe that's where we'll put him. I mean, we may mix things up a little bit. That's the plan now. Well, right. We may have to put him next to you, Don.
I move the governing board approve Mr. J. Mann for position of Chief of Business Operations and Development effective August 31st, 2015. Second. Don, second. Great, thank you. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Congratulations. Thank you.
I would also like to add that Mr. Mann called a few days ago saying, I've been invited for the Madison District to get coverage on foreign language advantages, and I'm not sure I'm able to get the person that I want here in Madison. How would you feel if your principal from Biltmore did it? So it is from Jay, Mr. Mann, that we had Joel on the Sonoran Living Channel 15 program this morning, and so he's already at work. So, congratulations, Mr. Mann.
Thank you. All right, our next agenda item is the teacher retention update. I'd like to invite Dr. Lugo to give us some information.
No, I'm supposed to be on this. Yeah, now for some reason it's not moving.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the governing board, and cabinet. Thank you so much for having me here this evening to speak of one of the most near and dear topics to my heart, teacher retention. I know you have the PowerPoint in front of you, so I don't want to delay your time. So today's agenda, we're going to talk a little bit about our teacher demographics, who has left the Creighton School District. Do you want me to wait?
Nope, please.
Go to the order history.
I haven't, well, it's loading. It's coming.
It's slow because my computer won't.
Yeah, Dr. Lugo, we'll wait a moment so the audience can follow along as well.
Do you guys want to look at it on the list?
No, it's not.
No, we
It
don't.
says no signal. Can I hit source? I don't want to. So they use our.
Mr. Mann?
Yeah, you're on duty right now. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I know, right? So.
This is started already.
So on the agenda this evening, we're going to be discussing teacher demographics, a little bit about who has left the Creighton School District, the new hires that we have, and then we're going to talk briefly about some national trends and some state trends, and then leave some time for some conversation amongst the board. Okay. So as you can see by this slide, that during the 2014-15 school year, we had 112 teachers leave the district. That could have occurred at any point during the year, not just at end of separation data.
Dr. Weaver, what was the baseline? How many teachers did you have?
I want to say 399 or 396. It is in an upcoming slide.
It's okay, so
Yeah, I have it.
it's not quite a third.
Not quite a third. Yeah. So I'll share that with you in just a moment. Thank you. So you can see that if you look at the pie graph, about a third of the teachers left within their first 3 years, and that's of Creighton School District, not in the general population. And most alarming is that 1/3 of them left within their first year in the Creighton School District. And these data points are reflective of what's going on in the state, but it's very alarming. So we are in a state crisis right now. So here you can see a little bit of separation by site and the number of teachers who have left each school. Important to note that our largest schools last year were Papago, Excelencia, and Creighton. Under 700 students were Biltmore Preparatory Academy and William T. Mackin. And just right at that 700 point were Loma Linda School and Larry C. Kennedy. Also, oftentimes reflected in the data is changes in site administration will show a higher turnover, and that's very valuable. So we did exit interviews this past year with pretty open questions. And so what is your primary reason for leaving? So you can see that respondents indicated various reasons. Family life was the #1 reason. And if you add that to taking a position closer to home or a move, that's something that was of interest. Also, compensation and lack of support were high. When digging deeper on lack of support, information really was given around support, meaning resources, curricular resources, and planning time. And then, when I was processing this with a colleague, really thinking about our novice teachers and the number of teachers in their first 3 years, that planning time being so important and trying to find those materials. Do you feel like you received enough support in order to do your job in the Creighton School District was another question. 59% felt like they did receive enough support. Especially high was professional development in the district, and linked to professional development oftentimes were noted the teachers on assignment, the site leadership team, as well as having common planning time. Those who said no spoke of lack of time and resources, and few cited administrative support, typically with around management of students. So what can Creighton School District do to best retain staff? The #1 and 2 indicators were time and school culture. Conversation around school really revolved about time for planning and ability to find resources. Oftentimes, teachers were talking about they had great curriculum maps and pacing guides, but when it came down to finding those high-quality resources that were linked to the Common Core, that was an indicator. A few respondents mentioned time for their families, early start times and dropping off children, and looking for that work-life balance for spending time with friends and family. So now let's look at who's joined the team. We did a little bit of a side-by-side comparison between 2014-15. We do have a higher turnover this year at 26.5%. We've hired more than 27 teachers of last year. And the increased turnover rate, I really do feel, is reflective of the teacher shortage, and teachers are actually leaving the state. I sit on the Arizona State Department of Education Task Force for Teacher Retention. One of the major factors are, with the economy getting better, that other states are also losing teachers, but they're paying higher salaries. We are, I think, 50th or 51st in comparison. So as you can see, we did make efforts to hire teachers with experience and bring them into the district, but the percentage of those having more than 4 years of experience has dropped off from 1 year to this. So this graph, it really talks to the number of teachers hired since 2008, and I counted back, in 2008 was the year I started in HR. So we're starting to dig in past, but I don't have all that data very clear yet. But you can see, if you do, as Dr. Lynn Stiller would have said, that line of trajectory, that we are, since 2010, increasing in the number of teachers. But my guess is, and I remember when I was school principal at Loma Linda in 2006, 2007, we always had about 100 to 90 new teachers at new teacher orientation. But I can bring that data for further reflection.
Dr. Lugo?
Yeah.
On that graph, do you have any insight on what happened well in 2009 that we didn't hire as many in 2010?
Yeah, so I think that it has to do with the economy and the scare. If you remember, in 2008, we laid off about 100 employees total. We pink slipped 30 some. and then hired everyone back again. And then I think there in 2009, what happened was people were afraid to go to other places because they just didn't want to be on the short list of not having years of experience, because the RIF list at that time, prior to the law changing, was based on oftentimes on seniority. I don't know the exact time when the law changed, but I think it was around 2010 where you could no longer use experience within the district as the primary factor for reduction in force. That's when and you'll see a policy first reading on the reduction in force policy.
I remember in 2010, I went to a substitute teacher orientation with Phoenix Union High School, and the room was packed with about 250 people, and most of them were certified teachers that had just gotten laid off because of reductions. That was 2010, so there was so many certified teachers just trying to substitute to get back in. It was amazing. Those were hard times.
So here you can kind of look a little bit at our new hire data, and we are very proud to say that over a third of our new hires have master's degrees or above. One has her doctorate. She's on her way in from Maryland, I think. 40 have no teaching experience, so they come to us within their first year. So it's very important that the mentor program developed by the curriculum assessment and instruction and assessment team led up by Sylvia Earle is really in tune with those 40 novice teachers. 80 of them come from our Arizona universities, which we're very proud of. Go ASU. And then 25 come from out of state. And so this gives me some indication of recruitment, and I'm pleased to say that we were able to hire 5 more from out of state than we did the year prior, and that was done via, Skype, FaceTime, phone, and referrals. And we started a referral project this year with a very small incentive, but trying to get the word out on Facebook, trying to get the word out in other avenues. We see that's working. I'm hesitant to say we can continue not traveling out of state because the other districts are traveling and they're making those personal connections, which we all know is all about relationships and getting out there in front of people. So I'm working very closely with Pamper Cart and looking at if there's any grant monies that can be secured to out-of-state travel, especially in those Midwest states. This one here is a difficult slide because it talks about new hire by site, but one of the things to keep in mind is teachers choose to transfer within the district, as well as declining enrollment and increasing enrollment skews this data. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this one. Here's an interesting slide which helps us determine where are our hard to fill areas. So you'll note that the primary grades, those are 1st through 3rd grade. We hired 33 teachers in that area, which sounds like it would be hard to fill, but it's also the most number of staffing positions in the district available. Those teachers requiring early childhood endorsements are in the pre-K, so we have 5 new additions to pre-K, plus we have even more difficult area to fill is the special needs of preschool, so they have to have early childhood and special education, as well as all of our kindergarten teachers have early childhood endorsement. So that's becoming an increased area to watch. In the intermediate grades, the one grade level of most concern is the 6th grade. They have the most openings there. My assumption is that the curriculum, how do I say this? Responsibilities of the teacher and the deep knowledge required with the Common Core reaching down to 6th grade now makes for some misalignment when we have middle schools being 7, 8, and most of our 6th grades being self-contained. So our principals are studying what factors to best deliver the instruction to our students. Do we need to look at that? Middle school areas, we have Luckily, everyone is staffed except for one middle school English language arts position. Math and science continue to be the most competitive in the market to fill. Okay, good. I'm not reading my notes. Right. Okay, so here's just a little bit of information. Some of it's a little older than I would like, but you can see for national data, nearly 50% of the teachers leave the profession within the first 5 years. And it's hard for us to tell if they're leaving the profession completely or if they're just leaving to go to another district. And one of the things that is very important that our students have the very best teachers in front of them every single year, because they lose ground if the most important person other than the student, which is the teacher in the classroom. This is a little slide to help our novice teachers remember, and I asked them to copy the slide at orientation and post it on their refrigerator and write on top, "I am normal," because they really need to know that when we had conducted a new teacher orientation, they come in with this high anticipation and they're going to change the world. And we actually, in our screening, the 7 questions that I asked, you know, what are the 3 most important reasons that you want for becoming a teacher? I listen for that change in the world, like wanting to make a difference. And they always start with, "Oh, I know it sounds corny, but," I'm like, no, that's what we want. So they come in with that. Right now, they are hitting that survival phase. You know, who, what, where, when, where do the kids line up, where do I go for duty, those kind of things. And as we enter in that first phase of APTTs or our parent-teacher conferences, that's really in the back of their head. How do I speak to our parents? What do I talk about? How much time do I use? Interesting to note, November through January, those are the holidays. So they go home to their families. They miss their families oftentimes, and some lamenting happens of, why did I do this? I can't believe, and parents are, you know, "Oh, honey, you know, stay home." So some of that, it's very, very important that when they hit that phase that they receive support, emotional support as well. And then we hope to get them up and out of that into rejuvenation and reflection and ready for the next year. Okay. Okay, so this slide really just talks about high minority, low income schools are most at risk for teacher turnover. This slide here talks about that not only finding highly qualified and highly effective is not due solely to the shortage of talented teachers, but the revolving door. Teachers, now that the economy is getting better, they may be leaving the profession of education to go be engineers or bankers or other areas where they feel like they can make more money. I am part of the Arizona School Personnel Association, and on their latest poll, the districts that reported in our area of the number of openings as of August 8th, you can see it was, I think I added them up at one point, it was over 260. So we in Creighton School District are in good standing that the number of openings now has been reduced to 2. 1, and then some of the positions were collapsing, and we're looking at transfers both within the site and across the district to balance our numbers. So I don't know if any of you have had the opportunity to read the white papers that came out from the Arizona Department of Education in January of 2015. Just a little bit of the data that, you know, statewide, we are at about 1/3 of our teachers, which is very reflective of the Creighton School District that have less than 3 years of experience. 73% of the districts have a structured mentoring program, and 60% offer stipends for mentoring, but 32% had no induction program whatsoever. So we're really sitting pretty in that we have a very strong induction program, 5 days. Our mentoring program is in the works. We used to have a real strong mentoring program with Career Ladder that due to budget cuts, it went away completely, and now through the efforts of the curriculum department, we're getting that back together and continually refining that program. So here it's just a little bit about the average teacher salary, that it's $49,000, and that's average from high to low, which makes it difficult to stay in the profession. Beginning salaries reported at almost $32,000. Here in the Creighton School District, we start out $36,579. So what's interesting to note is minimum wage has increased by 53% in the last 10 years, but we have only increased by 20% as a state. So the recruitment retention task force has made some recommendations. They're also in line with the Grand Canyon report. Some of you heard me report on that in the past. Really looking at elevating the profession and the positive reinforcements for being in the profession, publicly acknowledging our teachers for their hard work. The State Department is working on streamlining certification. They've made some adjustments to middle school certification, supporting induction programs and mentoring programs, and really looking at making Arizona competitive in the marketplace. This morning when I was driving to work and listening to NPR, they were talking about rebranding the state of Arizona, and hopefully they talk about what a wonderful place it is to work and be a teacher and make a difference. So some recommendations for our local education associations, basically that we need to focus on making teaching the best possible work environments, sharing our success stories like Dr. Lauren did today, I think on the Sonoran, I forgot the Sonoran News.
Living.
Sonoran Living, yeah. I can't wait to click on that link. Again, looking at the support that we provide our teachers in induction programs, utilizing and leveraging our pay for performance monies to reward our teachers who are making those efforts. Conduct and use exit interview data, and actually using that data. There's some research now around looking at doing stay interviews instead of exit interviews, and I'm very intrigued by that, so that's an area of further exploration. And really looking at our salary and benefits package and seeing if that is reflective of being competitive and gives teachers enough information on how they can grow in the profession. So now I leave it open for questions and discussion.
Some of the stuff you said, Dr. Thank you very much for that. It answers a lot of my questions. Very well done. I was listening to NPR the other day, not this morning, but it was talking about years ago, to be a teacher, you were respected. And then the pendulum swung and they were the scapegoats for everything, low test scores, taxes, anything you could, blame a teacher, they were the scapegoat. They were trying to, bring it back, that it's a respected profession, whereas money counts, other things count, but the morale counts a lot more. And if you're respected in a profession where you don't have parents hollering at you, well, Johnny can't read because of you, whereas they're not helping Johnny either. You can't put anything on the teachers singly. I guess that's my point. And they're talking about having respect for the teachers. Don't blame the teacher. And that made a big impression on me. But thank you, and as I said before, thank you. You did, I think, a wonderful job in recruiting these teachers and hiring these teachers the past year, because it's not a state problem, it's not a federal problem, it's a national problem.
Thank you. Creighton's an easy sell.
I love the idea of the stay survey. That would be interesting to hear. Want to explore that.
It's more of a comment for Donna, but we all have talked about retention being a challenge for a district. We started to think about what it is that we can take responsibility for. There are other factors that are a little beyond our locus of control. So I'm curious to hear recommendations on what we do to have a strong, productive workforce and what we can expect to make it better. Let the board know. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Lugo.
My pleasure.
All right. Our next agenda item is a proposed revision to governing board policy GCO, evaluation of professional staff members. And Dr. Lugo, I just saw one item in red.
One word.
Just one word. Is that all? Is there more to it this year?
It's just to align our policy GCO with the actual verbiage on the new Danielson rubric. And so changing the word from ineffective to unsatisfactory on the observational portion of the evaluation rating scale.
Great. Any questions or comments, discussion from the board? None. Okay. I don't think action on that. Thank you. All right. Our next agenda item is governing board ASBA policy advisories first reading. There a number here? It's just first reading, but if you have any questions, comments, concerns, it'd be great to bring them up now. Okay. All right, these will, just so we're all on the same page, they do come back for second reading. So before we adopt them, please make sure you bring talking points if you have any concerns. Yeah. All right, our next agenda item is discussion and consideration of removing the discussion on instructional limits at our study session. This is here because on April 28th, we took action as a governing board to have a conversation about instructional minutes at our August study session. I think we have identified different priorities, so for it to come up, I'm asking the board to take action on that.
And this is mostly due to the fact that we're not being on Sunday.
We can be on Sunday, but it's just a matter of we have to be here for it, and so here's the thing, we're having this conversation because generally our agenda is very flexible. It's just on April 28th, we agreed to a conversation at this time. We don't have to have it at this time, we can have it whenever we want. We don't have to have it again, it will be driven by a board member in collaboration with the superintendent. But if we wanted to have a one-day study session on Saturday focused on district goals, superintendent evaluation, and the other things that we started to talk about 2 weeks ago, this one comes off. Okay, I move the governing board approve to remove the discussion on instructional minutes from the summer study session to be heard at a future date.
Second.
Any further comments or questions? Great. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Future agenda items.
So based on this, I would like to add maybe a review of the meet and confer policy, so we don't continue to have this coming up like every, yes.
Great. So we'll give you a card. We will schedule that at an appropriate time. Any other agenda items?
I have one, and I guess it involves, gathering data. I'd like to find out, the last 2 years, 2013, 2014, 2014, 2015, the data on staff, professional and certified and non-certified staff, any of staff traveling out of town for conferences, so out of town travel for staff. Because we've talked about it a couple times, and I think it'd be good if we can have it.
Okay. And is this something to have in an agenda item or distributed in our board bulletin?
No, I think it's an agenda and discussion.
Okay. Great. Any other agenda items? Dr. Lewis? Great. I move to adjourn. Meeting adjourned at 6:50.